Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishnah Eruvin, Perek Zayin, Chapter 7, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Okay, so now we're continuing with the discussion about an Erev Chatzeres, where the halacha is that if you want to carry from a house to the courtyard, or from the courtyard to a house, you need to make an Erev Chatzeres, which means that everybody in the courtyard is going to contribute bread. They're going to put it in one house. That makes me consider like everyone's in that house. So the courtyard and the house are one domain, and you can carry in between both of them or in the courtyard itself. We've been discussing also if you have two courtyards next to each other, that depending that you won't be able to carry from one courtyard to the other unless you make an Erev Chatzeres between the two courtyards. So now the Mishnah says like this: Chaloin sheben shtei chatzeres. You have two courtyards, and there is a window between the two of them. So the scenario is like this: you've got a courtyard that there is a wall that is separate that goes through the courtyard, and this wall is 10 tefachim high. Because it's 10 tefachim high, it has the halachic status of a wall of a separation, and now I have a separation between the two parts of the courtyard, which were therefore render them into two courtyards. And the only entrance or the only opening between two courtyards in this case, besides climbing over the wall, is this window, this opening. The window, whether it has window pane or anything, that's not the point. There's an opening, and this window opening is going to be the means by which you can, let's say, hand things between both courtyards. But that's the only opening that there is between the two of them in this case. Now, so chalein sheben shtei chatzeres, a window between two courtyards, arba al arba. If it has the dimensions of 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, height and width, b'seich asara, within 10 tefachim off the ground, ma'arvin shnayim, they could make two separate erevs, v'mratzim arvin echa, but if they want to, they can make one. Meaning, if you have this kind of a wall, window, that's 4 by 4 wide, and it's less than 10 tefachim off the ground, then we say that opening is considered a valid opening to combine the two if they want to combine. If they don't want to combine, they don't have to. They can remain two separate chatzeres. And if they remain two separate chatzeres, meaning each one makes its own Erev chatzeres, then within each chatzer they'll be able to carry one chatzer to the other. They're not going to be able to carry. But if they decide to make it one, they want to make one Erev, which now they could because the opening is a valid opening to say that if they want to combine as one, they could. So then everybody's going to combine, everybody's going to contribute bread, and they're now going to pass it through the window and put it in the chutzner in the house of one of the courtyards. And now they'll be able to transfer back and forth between the two of them. Okay, that's if you have that. However, now, pachas me arba al arba, if let's say it's less than 4 by 4, the opening is narrower than that, and therefore it's not very convenient to pass things through it. Or it's 10 tefachim off the ground, so now it's too high to conveniently pass through something heavy. Pick up something heavy on your own, and you're standing on the ground, pick up something heavy, passing it through. If it's higher than 10 tefachim off the ground, then it's also it's not convenient for using. And in that situation, ma'arvin shnayim, they can make 2 erevs, they can each make their own erev, then ma'arvin echa, but they can't make one erev. Because this opening is not enough of an opening to be considered wide enough or usable enough to say that now this opening can combine the two as one. So they would not be able to make an erev together. They'd have to make 2 separate erevs. Now here on the bottom, they bring down the measure of a tefach. We talk about 4 by 4, and I said it's 4 tefachim or 10 tefachim off the ground. So a tefach we translate it as a handbreadth. Okay, how does that translate into common measurements? So they bring down here. It's a question again. It's a different of opinion, but the measure of a tefach in current terms ranges from 3.2 to 3.8 inches, which would mean between 8 and 9.6 centimeters. Okay, between 8 and 9.6 centimeters. Okay. So that's not like, huge. A tefach is not huge. Now, if you think about it, if you're talking about, so very often we kind of, keep it, we call it 3, we call it 4. So the window has to be 4 by 4 tefachim, which could be either by like 12 by 12 or 16 by 16 inches. And it's got to be less than 10 tefachim off the ground. Now, this halacha that we need it to be 10 tefachim, less than 10 tefachim off the ground, is talking about a situation which is a chutzner, a courtyard. You got this courtyard as the ground and as the wall, and if you're going to pass anything through this window, you're standing on the ground passing through. Once it gets higher than 10 tefachim, it's not convenient anymore. That's only in a courtyard. But in a house, let's say you have 2 houses. And again, the only opening between the 2 houses or the 2 rooms where 2 separate families are living is this window. And this window is above 10 tefachim from the floor. Then it's not a problem. You know why? Because in a house, there are benches and there are chairs. And to stand up on a bench or a chair and then pass it through the window is convenient. So it's only in a chutzner where we say there's a problem if the window is higher than 10 tefachim. And also, the only time in a chutzner, in a courtyard, the window being higher than 10 tefachim is a problem is only if the entire window is above 10 tefachim from the ground. But once even a little bit of it is within 10 tefachim, only a small amount of it within 10 tefachim, then it's good enough. Then we can say that it's within tefachim. It's usable enough to say that now the 2 things, the 2 chatzeros could combine, 2 courtyards could combine if they wanted to.
What if the window is bigger?
Great. It's even better.
Okay.
Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.